Welcome to the Get Loved Up podcast. I'm Koya Webb, founder of Get Loved Up, where we inspire you to love yourself more, love others more, and love the planet more. Each week, I'll interview a special guest who will share their insights on how they practice daily self-care, tackle tough challenges in life, and thrive in the world one breath at a time. You will be inspired to take control of your life as you heal yourself mentally, spiritually, and physically, and create a reality in alignment with your deepest passions. Let's get loved up. Everybody's searching for something to fill that empty space. Evolyn Brooks is a Reiki practitioner, RYT 200 yoga teacher, an award-winning television producer and showrunner, author, journalist, and breast cancer survivor. She is the founder of In My Solitude, LA, a well-being company designed to help women create supportive intentions and goals through mindfulness, yoga, Reiki, meditation, wellness products, and experiential events. Evolyn shares a message of healing and personal transformation through the intention candle making experience, an in real life virtual event that she describes as self-discovery through DIY. During the experience, attendees create and personalize their own intention candle, journal, and set new life goals and inspirations. Make a daily mantra and experience self-Reiki meditation. Evolyn has created the Intention Candle experience for brands such as YouTube, Bumble BFF, Athleta, DaVita Healthcare, Superdry, BeautyCon, MindBody, Laura Jane, and more. Her work is featured in the Los Angeles Times, Blog Her, Santa Monica Daily Press, Yoga and Spa Magazine, The Global Communicator, and Voyage LA. Evolyn began her professional career in television news and worked as an anchor, reporter, talk show host, and producer at WNWO TV 21 in Toledo and WKYC TV in Cleveland, Ohio. She is a Producers Guild of America member with a national and major market credentials with OWN, Lifetime, Bravo, We Network, MTV, BET, CBS, and NBC, among others. Evolyn has produced shows with celebrities such as Queen Latifah, Will Smith, Ben Affleck, Jamie Foxx, Denzel Washington, Mary J. Blige, Halle Berry, Lauryn Hill, Lenny Kravitz, Whitney Houston, Ben Stiller, Beyonce, and Tyra Banks, among others. Evolyn has been nominated for the 34th Annual Emmy Award, 2 Namek Vision Awards, and was the recipient of an NAACP Image Award. Evolyn currently resides right here in Los Angeles, California. Woo!
Yeah. I don't think it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Talk about shining your light on the world. How are you?
Fantastic. I'm so excited to be here to speak with you. I've long admired your work, so I'm just so grateful to be able to chat about all that's going on in the world today and how we're going to be a part of shining our light. So thank you.
Speaking of shining your light, how does it feel? I'm just so happy about today and that we're doing the podcast today. Tell the people what is happening today and why we are so excited.
Today is the actual inauguration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and they are our new president and vice president-elect. And let me tell you something, I didn't get any work done today because I couldn't stop watching. I mean, I was watching all the time. And then when our poet Laureate came out and read that beautiful poem, I mean, I was done. I was crying. I mean, literally, I had no intention of crying at the inauguration. I mean, I was for Kamala, but that poem was so beautiful, so beautiful.
And I know you're a woman about intention. So what did that poem mean for you? Like, what did it really set into your soul?
It was a rally to all of us to shine your light. You know, there was a line when she said, don't be afraid to shine your light, be the light. And I think this moment is an opportunity for all of us to choose to be intentional about how we want to move forward these next 4 years and how we want to show up and what impact we want to make personally. So that's what I got out of it. And I'm just inspired. And I know that we all have to do our individual work. You know, a president, a vice president, they're not going to save us. We have to save each other. And so that was the message that I got today.
Ashe, ashe, ashe. I 100% agree. And speaking of that, I want to talk a little bit about your journey and kind of where you grew up, how you started out, and what got you on this path of just intentional living and mindfulness.
So I'm from Ohio, and that's where, you know, I grew up. And, you know, I had a very untraditional upbringing. And it's funny because now it's not so, you know, it's not non-traditional. But, you know, when I was coming up, my mother was very much into yoga. That's where I first learned yoga, hatha yoga, in fact. And I think she would just have me do poses, just, you know, see if you can do this. But it was really just to get me out of her hair a little bit because it was like gymnastics to me. I'm like, yeah, I can put my leg up like that. And so it became kind of a part of my life without really knowing that it would later be a practice that I could call upon in my life. And we were vegetarians, and there was nobody else, you know, there were no other kids that were vegetarians. And so we had this lifestyle where I had to really learn to figure out who I was, because I was a little different, you know, than a lot of the other kids when I would go to school. And I was a big reader. And so that kind of led me down that road of writing, and then to journalism, and then to becoming, you know, a morning anchor, a reporter, all of that. And the shift for me in terms of where my life started to change was when my mother passed away. I always wanted to be a person who shared information. That's why I went into journalism, to make sure that people understood what was really happening in the world. But when my mother passed away, and she passed away from breast cancer, it was just hard for me to go up into someone's face with a microphone that was in pain and say, how are you feeling? Or, you know, I knew. It opened my heart, like a level of compassion kind of came in that I wasn't expecting when my mom passed away, because I took care of her during that period of time. And so I decided to move to New York, to hang out with my cousin, start working as a producer. I had done this program. It was a primetime program, and I was the first person in my market to do something like this, and it was called Kids Hurting Kids. And I got like gang members together, and parents and teachers and community leaders. And I was like, wow, I don't just have to hold a microphone. And I'm not saying that that's not great to do in terms of being a journalist, but I saw that, you know, I could help build community, and I can help change community and be a vehicle and a vessel for that. And so I did that for a while as a producer, but then my heart continued to kind of tug at me. It's like, how are you letting your light shine through, you know, your values shine through, and what can you do to kind of share that, you know, with other people? And so life starts to change you. And if you're listening, you know, you go with that flow instead of resist what the universe is trying to tell you.
I love that. I love everything about that, especially life is always guiding you. Like I 100%, being a girl from Tennessee and then moving west, it's like you follow that divine flow. Was there any a time where you had a doubt about your path?
Well, yeah. I mean, there are always moments when I have doubts about my path, but I think that's when you kind of double down in terms of listening to your inner voice. I had doubts about my path, you know, when I was in news and producing, because I always felt like I could be doing more, like there's more here. And then it was a feeling that I was seeking. You know what I mean? Like when I was writing something that felt in alignment, where I felt like I'm helping somebody, this family is going to be better for the show. I felt a sense of flow, and I wanted to feel more of that. And so it was my heart kind of pulling me and tugging me forward. And so there were moments when I have just decided, okay, I'm going to step out on faith. When I started In My Solitude, you know, that was something that I always did in terms of making things, because my mom was very much like, learn how to sew, learn how to skate, ice skate, go to camp. You know, she was always trying to figure out what to do with me. So I learned a lot of things, and I learned how to make things. So I always did that. But then I said, well, how can I create something that I control, that allows me to put out the message that is most important to me? And that's when I decided to create In My Solitude, which is all about going inward and really tapping into that voice that guides you and listening to your intuition and being intentional. And so I just felt like, you know, initially there was no, you know, living to be made from it yet, but it was mine. It was something that I could develop in my own time. And I saw the results based on the response that I would get from people. And that's what told me, keep going, keep going, keep going.
Mm. I love that. And it means so much, like, you know, just to get that feedback. And when you got that feedback and when you connected, because you've worked with so many people, what do you feel like was that point where you say, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what, because you've had different trajectories in your career. So what was the first moment where you said, okay, and are you still in journalism now, or have you said, okay, I want to do the intentional candle making? Or how do you balance all of the things that you're great at, all of the things that you value?
Well, I think that's really what it boils down to, is the idea of intention. So yeah, I still write, I still, you know, create projects, I still do In My Solitude, I still do all of that, but it all boils down to really evaluating each opportunity and the intention behind it. And it's like, yes, I want to make a film. Well, what is that film going to be about? And what message is that going to share with the world? And how will I be a vehicle and a vessel within that milieu, so to speak? And so I think you could do everything that you have the ability to do. I don't think you have to say, well, I'm talented at this and this and this, so I should only do this. I think you should do it all, but I think you should do it all with intention and carefully choose and decide, like, okay, I'm doing this because, and really understand why you're doing it, because that way, whether it goes left or goes right, you are never the victim in whatever choice you make, because you took personal responsibility for it starting out. I wanted to do that because, and then you're open to the experience of it. So that's how I try to do everything that I love, by just deciding. And then sometimes, you know, sometimes that something else comes. Sometimes the universe just says, here, I'm gonna throw this to you. Now run, you know what I mean? So sometimes things just come up, happy surprises, and you just have to, like, you know, go with that, things you're not even expecting. So I try to plan and pick and choose. And then I just also try to stay open to what is going to come that I wasn't expecting.
I love that. And what do you do to help you stay intentional? Because I know, like you said, it's not easy. You're doing one thing and the world throws you somewhere else, and you're like, wait. So are there any practices that help you stay intentional about your focus? Or is it okay to allow things to come in as long as you don't get too far off balance? What really helps you maintain that harmony? Because it sounds like you're just like me, just very multi-passionate about many different things and love to put your energy into those things that bring you joy. But what is your way of kind of checking the temperature with yourself and balancing those things that sometimes you're working and it's their time, they need to be let go, and sometimes they need to be seen through? So what are some tools that you use to help really gauge how to maintain harmony between the things that you love to do?
So the first thing I try to do every morning is just, I get up really early. like, 5:30 in the morning. And I love to watch the sun come up. I mean, it just gives me life. There's something about the colors that just ground me and make me feel a part of something bigger, and the consistency of it. You know what I mean? It's just like the sun comes up every morning pretty much around the same time and just gives us amazing colors and beauty and grace. And then it just says, okay, I'll see you later. That is just like, okay. And so that just grounds me. So I do that every day. And then I do Reiki just to kind of center myself. I pray. And I pray, like I have a list that I do the night before, tasks, things I have to do. But I do constantly pray throughout the day to be a vessel, to be able to get out of my own way. That is my constant balancing act. Is this bigger than me? Is this something that will allow, a higher impact in the world that I personally can't do? You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, you're afraid. You're like, can I do this? Da, 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 da. And so I try to like just start with like this beautiful sunrise that says, yes, there are so many things that are bigger than you, but I am with you. I'm walking with you. And so that gives me courage and that gives me confidence. And, I write down what I need to do and I come up with like maybe 3 things that I have to do. And then I just make sure I get those things done. And then I just try to then flow. I try to do a little yoga. Sometimes my body's like, no, you're just going to sit, So I try to listen to my body more than push my body, but I try to do a little something every day. But it's that centering, that's really important to me. Just that quiet moment before I do anything else. I have to do that in the morning. So I would say those are my rituals.
I love that, because when you said watch the sunrise, I got chills, because that is sunrise and sunset are my 2 favorite times of day. Favorite.
Yes. Yes.
And I love how you said the sun comes up every day, and it's telling of how we are meant to, as you were saying in the beginning, just shine our light and do our best, because, if we look at nature, that's all nature's doing. It's just showing up every day.
Yes, every day. Nature's just showing up. And, one of the biggest things that, I love nature, it's like, I love the ocean. I love the forest, whatever. I love all of it. And the reason I love nature so much is that sometimes I just try to study it, when you're trying to figure out something in life and you're like, well, why is this? And why did that happen? And this and that. And when you just study nature, it literally speaks to you. And so one thing that I wanted to share that I recently received just from, one of my meditations, in nature, and this period that we're going through, in terms of the pandemic and people are experiencing a lot of loss, and, we all have. And so there's this one huge tree that's outside of my window, and I've watched it change seasons. So now it's bare bones, not a leaf on it. But then I remember when it was full of leaves, and then when the flowers are about to bud. And so it just made me think of loss. And it's like, we don't really lose anything. It just changes form. And if we allow it to change form, we'll have less pain from holding on to it. And it just, I had to just sit with that, because it's like the tree is still the tree, but it's just changing form. And if we're attached to the leaves and can't let the leaves go, we're going to suffer. If we're attached to the flowers when they're blooming and can't let that go, we're going to suffer. So that was my revelation.
I love that. I was about to say preach.
I was just like, Okay, so I have to practice like don't be so attached. I mean, it's Buddhism, right? The foundations of Buddhism, attachment. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
And the only thing constant in life is change.
yeah,
Then you said something about allowing, and I forgot the author of this book, but the art of allowing, like being able to see the good, see the bad, see the light, see the darkness, and see the duality of life as just
yeah.
isness. And
Mm-hmm.
in that, we decide how we want to be, how we want to flow. It just
Yeah,
gave me chills. I absolutely
yeah.
love it. And I have to say, one of the things that attracted me the most about you when Olivia introduced us or introduced me to you is your candle making
Yeah.
and your intentional lifestyle. And I'm so excited about you taking our guests through intention setting in our upcoming Get Loved Up retreat. So I want you to kind of just give us a little bit of what you take people through in that journal of candle making and how that became important to you.
Absolutely. So it all evolved from, a moment when I was going through, I would say, the biggest health crisis of my life. I had started In My Solitude, and I wanted to create a candle line. And so around that time, it was about 2013, going into 14, I was diagnosed with an early stage breast cancer. And so I'm very blessed that it was caught early, but I had a lot of time on my hands because I was healing. I went through chemo and radiation, and I was doing acupuncture and just all of these holistic modalities as I was going through my healing process. And so during that period of time, what I realized is that, I had some of the best doctors in the world. Like my surgeon was amazing. But I also realized it's like, okay, there's one thing to heal the body, but you also have to heal your mind, whatever is in your mind that you need to release and let go of so that your body can continue to do that work. And so I went through this process because I was lying there in the bed, looking at the trees and nature out the window. And I started to talk to myself about, what do I need to release? Who do I need to forgive? How do I want to show up coming through this experience? How do I want to offer my gifts and talents to the world? And it just gave me this opportunity to really soul search and really dig down deep and just release some things, call forth what I wanted. And I was creating the candle line as that was happening because, I was kind of writing the intention of what it was. And so that process of envisioning my life beyond this challenge, beyond this obstacle was important for me. And I thought, well, we're all going through this journey of life, experiencing the same things, just different types of challenges. So what I learned, I felt was valuable. And I was just like, how can I share this with someone else? So I had gotten the candle line together. I was selling it at Unique LA and just all of that. And then I started to work with brands, and I got this artist residency at West Elm. And so it was amazing because they gave me this entire space to sell my work and to develop it. And I worked with designers and the whole 9 yards. And I was just like, again, okay, it's like, well, what else can I do? And so I'm like, well, I'm a producer. How can I create a workshop or content or something? So I was like, okay, I'll do candle making, and then people could make their own candle. They could buy one and all of that. But then I just thought, like, when people would come, I was like, okay, it's, more, what else can we do? So then I started to do, I had different yoga teachers come in, and a friend of mine at the time, I wasn't certified in Reiki yet, so I had a friend come in and do it. So then we had this whole experiential moment happening on the patio in West Elm, all these yogis. It was amazing. And so then I thought, okay, well, how can I bring in what I learned from this experience with the candles? And so then I started working with, people that would come in to do intention candles. And so that's how it started. It started at West Elm. And then it's developed as I have developed. So now it's like we set intentions, we create mantras, we go deep. So, the other day, somebody said there was a gentleman that was a part of it, and he got emotional, and he was like, "What in the Yamla is happening here?" Like, he didn't expect it. You know, people think that they're just making a candle, but there's a mindfulness to it. There's an element of bringing your beginner's mind. You have to really tap into, you know, what you want and why. We do a Reiki, self-Reiki meditation. And then the candle is a reminder of the intentions that you set. So it becomes a part of the process. And then we pour our intentions into the candle. So it is a process. I call it self-discovery through DIY, because it's kind of like you're making something, you know, and it's kind of like when you're washing dishes. It's like there's a mindlessness to it, but thoughts come through and your subconscious opens up, and so it becomes a whole thing. So that's what it is. And then I got a singing bowl. So now I'm in there, you know, using that. So people are going to be tired of me in the singing bowl soon, but I'm learning how to use that as kind of open up our heart center, our third eye, our chakras as we move through it. So I'm really happy that it's growing and changing, and people are showing up for it. You know, I'm really happy and proud of how it's evolving.
That is beautiful. That is so, it's almost like, it sounds like a meditation, like you're just having a whole meditation through this candle making.
It's your time to step into your full power and potential. Are you tired of playing small and ready to make a big difference in the world? If your answer is yes, then the Wellness Entrepreneur Mastermind is for you. This mastermind will give you all the tools you need to turn your passion into purpose and live from a space of abundance as you let go of your limiting beliefs and negative self-talk. We coach you to thrive 1 week at a time, one goal at a time. We teach you what's working right now and what's not, so you can position yourself as a community leader and create real change in the world. If you're ready to level up and stand in your power, then go to koyawebb.com/mastermind to join our next group of wellness entrepreneurs. Space is limited and your time is now, so don't delay. Make a difference today.
When did you know that you were healed after going through, you know, the diagnosis and then creating this intention and having this purposeful work?
I claimed it. As soon as the doctor said it, I claimed my healing. I never went through the process saying that they're, you know, owning cancer. I wrote a book called Her Name is Cranberry. And it's just a little small tome, you know, small but mighty. But it's really about my journey where, you know, she said that the tumor was the size of a cranberry. And so I said, okay, I'm going to call it Cranberry. And then I said, what are you here to teach me? Because you're here to teach me something, because we're not going down this path in this way. So what are you here to teach me? And how am I truly in my heart took it like, okay, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. I need to show up better in my life. And I felt in my heart that this came to tell me, to show me, like, pull it together, focus, get on your path, shine your light. Like, that's what I think Cranberry came into my life for. Now, I did go to the doctor, like, let's not get that twisted. You know what I mean? I'm not like one of those people who feels like, okay, well, just, you know, no, I did everything I could to heal my body. But I also worked on my heart and my mind and my spirit in that process. And I claimed my healing from the very moment I got that news.
I love that. I think that's so important, because I believe in You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And
Yes.
thoughts are things, and we create this vibrational frequency in our body. We create these frequencies that can, like, cause different things to turn up. And we also can create the frequency to allow them to change and shift. I 100% am just so happy that you were able to find the lesson in Cranberry and be able to hold that. I want to read your book. I want to. Is it still available for people to?
Yeah, it's just a little, I mean, really, it was just like, I wanted to just, I think what I'm going to do eventually is kind of, it will be a part of something larger that I write about, personal transformation. But it was just like, I just had to get that out in that moment in time. So it's on Amazon, it's on my website. But it really, for me, was about just letting people know that our bodies heal. It's like, I mean, we take it for granted, but if you cut yourself, your body heals. Your body is designed to heal. It's designed to be healthy. We just have to support it in the best way that we can. And our thoughts and our minds, all of that contributes to it. Our emotions, our thoughts, our words. But if I fall down and I skin my knee, it's going to start healing. So I'm just like, that is the natural order of things. And so that's what I focused on as I went through that experience.
I love that. I love that reminder of remembering that, like, how easy it is for when we have a small scrape and it's a heal. But sometimes when those things are bigger, it might take more time, because in order for it to get there, sometimes it's stress over time, or not knowing something is harming you when it is. Can you speak a little bit about just what you're doing now to just kind of manage yourself? Because especially now, mental health is really important, and managing stress is really important. So what do you have to say to those listening, and how to really, they might not do the candle making, but to really take control and really manage their mental health and stress?
Well, I really think it's about listening to your body. And to be able to really listen to your body, you have to take some time to be still. And so that's why, when I think of the words of my company called In My Solitude is not the same thing as loneliness, right? Solitude is a choice that you make, where I'm going to take some time and I'm going to sit with myself. And I'm going to get to know myself so that I recognize when I'm stressed, and I can step away from a moment. And we can do that wherever we are. If you need to go into another room and just take a minute and then just really connect. And one of the things that I love about Reiki is that there's a sense of, you can always connect with yourself. Literally just putting your hand on your heart, putting your hand on your solar plexus, and just breathing. Just taking a moment and just being present with yourself, and just allowing your body to feel your own love. We spend a lot of time fulfilling other people's needs and wants as moms and sisters and wives and partners, and just moving through the day, not even thinking that you deserve as much. And so I would say, try in the mornings and at night, just take a moment and just sit with yourself. And I think the thing that the pandemic has really shown a lot of folks is that we don't know each other like we think we do. And then there's some things about ourselves that we learn and we're like, ooh, okay, because you're with yourself all the time. But love on yourself anyway. You know what I mean? We're all learning out here. This is Earth School. It is not a perfect situation. Don't be so hard on yourself. Be kind to yourself. Say kind words to yourself. If you wouldn't say what you say to yourself to a child, don't say it to you. Think about how you speak to yourself. Like all of those things. And that's beyond money. That's beyond going to a spa. Those are just actions of how you treat yourself that will make a difference in how you allow people to treat you. That becomes the bigger issue. You know what I mean? But just taking that time.
Absolutely. I love that Earth School. It's like we're here, because I think sometimes we think it's going to end. Like, once I pass this test, or once I get this money, or once I get that relationship, then I'm good. But in school, you're just graduating to the next level and the next level. And I love that. I remember hearing that in church one day. And I was like, now that makes sense, because none of these challenges are stopping in my life. And I think the more passionate you are and the more ambitious you are, the more you just keep elevating through those levels. And if you keep wondering when you're going to get to the top, you realize that this is an earth school. So as long as you're here, you will have lessons.
Yeah.
And do you have a strategy or a hack? You know, we always want the right? we need Evelyn's cliff notes for the Earth School as we go through these challenges. Because even as a country, we have gone through challenges, and so seeing and having this profound moment where we're stepping into a new season. And we're intentional and we're mindful, but what are some of those other things we have to do in our personal lives, in our community, if we really want to see change worldwide, in your opinion?
Well, in my opinion, I think we have to figure out what we have to offer and what we can do. You know, I think it's the collective consciousness that we're all adding to, right? So any energy that we're seeing that we don't like, well, we are as responsible as the next person in terms of contributing something different. And so I think that's the thing that I loved about, you know, all of the things that happened this summer. And even, you know, when we look at, you know, the everything that went down at the Capitol, that was energy too, you know, it was a different type of energy. And so we get to choose how we're going to show up, you know what I mean? And so that's the thing that I think is really the most important thing in everything that we do. Try to think, okay, this is a challenge. This is difficult. I don't like this situation. I don't like this person and how they're behaving, but how am I going to show up, you know? And that's where the personal responsibility lies for me. It's just like, okay, I don't like a lot of things that I'm seeing, but am I just on social media like tapping away, or have I found a way in my life to make a contribution in the way that I can? And I think that is the most powerful way. You know, I mean, I see people all the time with amazing platforms, right? And somebody will say, you should talk about this. And it's kind of like, yeah, but you have a platform too. Don't think because your platform's smaller that it can't be powerful, you know, and that you can't affect change in your own life. So start with you, you know, that's what I think. And the other thing too, a big lesson for me has been surrender, you know. When I'm in a situation and I'm feeling an energy, or I'm bringing an energy that does not feel in alignment with how I want to show up, just take a step back and surrender, and then let it work itself out. You know what I mean? Because there's something there that you need to hear or learn or feel. You know what I mean? So get involved and then surrender.
Surrender. I love that. I love that. And that surrender, that word, it really does help deal with some of the challenges and some of the uncertainty and some of the things that we're going to, just surrendering and doing the best you can. I love the warmth that you bring around self-responsibility. That's what's coming up for me as you speak, just really owning that self-responsibility and doing whatever you can to the best of your ability, and knowing whether you have a larger platform or a smaller platform, it is making an impact in some way. And absolutely. I feel like that's very empowering for people, because I feel like it's so easy to look at what someone else has and what someone else is doing. But when you look at yourself, you're really able to cultivate the energy that you need to cultivate, that unique, special energy that you need to cultivate to make a difference.
So true. So true. That's so true. Yeah, when you said that, it just made me think about, because we're, you know, on social media, and this is a platform that we all use. That's something that happens a lot when people look at what someone else does and what their, you know, how many likes or followers they have. And And that's just an important thing that I would just like to leave everyone with, that we are all unique and we all have our own special gifts. And if we turn our eye away from what other people are doing and turn it inward to how can we be our best selves, something magical starts to happen. And you get that thing that you were looking outside of your life at someone else for. It comes to you because you're putting energy into you. And that's something that I've learned over the years.
Ashe, I agree. You're not going to find your purpose outside of you. It's inside of you.
Yes.
Never find it. You might get inspired from the outside in spirit, which is also in you. Like, I love thinking of inspired as in spirit, and it just brings you still back to yourself and your own divine purpose. So I absolutely love that. And as we start to get to the end, I want to ask you like some rapid fire questions, and you can just say first that comes to your mind.
Okay.
All right. So, favorite book?
Their Eyes Were Watching God, Zora Neale Hurston.
Favorite podcast?
Oh my gosh, favorite podcast. God, I have so many favorite podcasts. Yours is one of them. I listen to it. There's one that I love to listen to, How I Built This. I love that because it brings on a lot of entrepreneurs that talk about things. And then I created my own podcast where I speak to female entrepreneurs. So I love business, and I love just how people start with nothing and then build an empire. Like, I just love that. How I Built This. That's what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that too. I think that's why we resonate so strongly. And why the whole Give Love Dove Retreat is about spirituality, wellness, and entrepreneurship. Because at the end of the day, it all comes together, because when you're in spirit, you're divinely guided, you start to understand how to be well. And with that wellness, you can share it with others. And when you're sharing it with others, it brings in so much flow, flow when you just surrender to that give and receive. What we already have naturally written nature, just constantly circulating energy. Light, as you've been saying the whole time. All right, favorite color?
Light blue.
And I love your top, by the way. You look absolutely gorgeous.
This is my color. Thank you. I have always loved this color. This is, I don't know. Light blue.
I love it. And with the pop of red lip, it's just perfect.
Thank you.
All right. And if you could have dinner with anyone tomorrow, who would it be?
Maya Angelou. I remember there was a show that was on a while ago where people would like come to her house and she would have a party or they would do an interview. But I just loved how she was just so in command of her essence. And it's like, if you came to her house and you swore and she didn't like it, she would be like, you gotta go. Like, she just would not allow any nonsense in her cipher. And so I just felt like when I was in college, she came to my school and I was the editor of my newspaper. And I got to ask her a few questions, but I always just wanted to literally just have dinner with her and just absorb some of that wisdom and just be with her, have a conversation.
I love that. I feel like I could almost visualize you two together. You are a phenomenal storyteller. So,
thank you.
And do you have any things in the works when it comes to films or production?
So I have several films that I've written, and I have a book that I've written. And part of my goal and intention for 2021 is to make at least one film this year and have my book ready to go to be published by the end of this year. So those are my two personal projects that I am putting out into the universe, and I receive the execution of them.
We that everyone listening right now, we are claiming that for you, that your book and your production they're coming out in 2020, and that is just so amazing. I'm looking forward to being with you for the Get Loved Up retreat. I'm looking forward to hopefully candle making with you one day, and hopefully
Yes.
sitting down to have some tea, because that would just make me so happy to just be in the aura of your essence. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on the Get Loved Up podcast. You've given us so much food for thought. Is there anything else you would like to share before we wrap up?
No, I'm just excited to be a part of the retreat. I think it's such a wonderful idea, and there's so much healing that, we're all in need of based on what we've been through, not just this last 4 years, but, beyond. We need a collective healing space. So thank you for asking me to be a part of it. And check me out online at In My Solitude, LA. My podcast is called Built by a Boss, and I talk to boss ladies just like you. And thank you.
Thank you for coming. We'll make sure we include all of your links so people can find you. And that is why we create it for free, because we want to share this knowledge, your essence, your expertise, and all the other powerful light workers on the panel. And we all have the same mission to serve at this time. And we know that through that service, it's going to change the vibration of the planet. When we're able to communicate, when we're able to educate, we're able to share our stories, that this is our tool and things aren't perfect. So thank you so much for donating your time for this podcast, for the retreat. We appreciate you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. Until next time, get loved up, love yourself, love others, and love the world, one day at a time, one breath at a time. Peace and love.
I just want to take a moment to say thank you for being part of the Get Loved Up community. I like to share topics and people making a positive impact in the world, and your feedback means the world to me. If you haven't already left a review, please leave a 5-star review and let me know what you want to hear more of on the show. I'm here for you, and together we're making the world a better place, one day at a time, one show at a time. Thank you for listening.